Fall Guys and Among Us. The two games that are absolutely trending right now, and both feature Beans as characters. Cool. So, it's time we put them in a head-to-head competition to truly find out which game is better. I'll be separating this into 5 categories: gameplay, soundtrack, controls, characters, and content. And whichever side has the most points will win this game battle. So let's get started in 3, 2, 1, let's do it. Round 1, gameplay. So first I'm going to start off with Fall Guys. So the gameplay of Fall Guys is basically like a mix of Mario Party minigames mixed with Fortnite, in which there's 60 players and you want to be the last person standing in order to get the crown. You have to go through 5 rounds, and God forbid you get put on an uneven team, then you're pretty much screwed then. But if you're not, it can be pretty fun. See, but like I said, it is pretty much just a mix of Fortnite and Mario Party minigames online. And the gameplay overall is pretty solid. I could say that all of the things are well designed except for the team ones. I don't really like those. But almost all the minigames are really well designed. And the gameplay itself is really fun. It does get repetitive after a while because there's some minigames that you can only play on a certain round or so, which does kind of make it really repetitive and kind of dull after a while, which the other game I'm going to talk about doesn't really have that as an issue. But the gameplay is still really solid and fun overall. It stays pretty fresh sometimes when a new minigame pops up every now and then in a round that you usually don't see it in. And the game is really chaotic, making it pretty fun. But like I said, it can get repetitive at times. So for the gameplay of Among Us, 1 to 3 people are imposters, and the rest are crewmates. The crewmate's job is to do tasks around the ship while trying to find out who the imposter is by whether them seeing them vent, kill anybody, or if they're acting sus. And the imposter's job is to try to kill all the crewmates without having anyone see you or coming out as a suspect. And honestly, unlike Fall Guys, I think the gameplay here is much less dull because you'll always be on your edge. In Fall Guys, you basically do the same thing over and over. And although that's kind of true here, you're always on edge to see who's the imposter. You're always on the edge to see if someone will kill anybody. You're on the edge if you want to see them vent or if you should trust people or not. Plus, you can actually interact with other people in the game by typing messages or even talking to them. Which, in my opinion, just being able to talk to other people makes the game so much less dull. It makes it much more interesting, in my opinion, than Fall Guys, because you can interact with other people by sending them messages. And that's not just, some kind of cool gimmick you can do. It's integral to the part of the game, which I think is awesome. And like I said, the fact that there's 3 different maps, and yes, I complained that the things in Fall Guys got really repetitive after a while. That isn't really the case here because since you're always on edge and since you can't really trust fully anyone else around you, and the fact there's still 3 different maps, the game never really gets dull. You'll always have to be on edge, you'll always have to look for suspects, and overall the game is just a lot of fun. It never gets dull, and I think the gameplay is simply fantastic. So for the gameplay, I have to give the point to Among Us because of it being much more unique. And it's always interesting. It never really ever gets dull because there's 3 maps to play on, and because you'll always be on edge and you get to interact with people. In my opinion, makes the game so much more interesting, which is why I give Among Us the gameplay point. Round 2, soundtrack. I mean, it's pretty obvious that it's gonna go to Fall Guys. Among Us has pretty much barely any music in it. Fall Guys has a good amount of music, not too much, but it still has a good amount. And then music is absolutely banging in Fall Guys. And like I said, Among Us barely has any music at all. Sure, it kind of fits with the game and all that of it, being kind of like a creepy style game, and you never know what's gonna happen next, or if someone behind you is gonna stab you in the back or whatnot. But the Fall Guys music is just so jamming, and there's much more of it. So the point clearly has to go to Fall Guys. Round 3. Controls. As someone who plays Fall Guys on my PC, the controls can be a bit awkward at times, but from the PS4 standard, yeah, the controls are great. And plus, you can also change them too, which that always helps everything. So yeah, the controls are great on the PlayStation. Although PC can be a little wonky at times, overall, the controls are great. They're really responsive, and they're just really cool. I'm also going to bring up the physics of the game in the control section too, just solely because I want to. The physics are quite odd, but that just adds to the fun and wackiness of the game. And it's not really annoying by any means. Alright, it can be annoying, but like I said, it just adds to the fun and the wackiness of the game. So, the physics are quite wacky, but it adds to the game. And the controls are honestly great, and being able to change them is another great feature that I'm glad exists, which makes me playing the game overall more playable. For example, I don't use the WSDA control scheme. I know I'm the only person who ever said that, but I just like using the arrow keys. Being able to use that just makes me so happy. So, yeah, the controls in Fall Guys are great. Whether you're playing on PC or PlayStation, like I said, PC can be a little wonky at times, but the controls are still great and perfectly manageable. Alright, for a game on your phone, this game controls surprisingly well. Or yes, it can also be played on a PC, but I personally play it on my phone. And the controls are surprisingly good for being on a phone, especially because you get to use the joystick. I do think that the arrow keys would be a much more better way to play this game, but the controls for a game like this on a phone are really good. Of course, I do think the controls are better in Fall Guys, but for a phone, the controls here work surprisingly well. And on the computer, they work great. There's not really that much for me to say. And there isn't really any wacky physics for me to talk about this time, so that just wraps up the controls. I think they're great on either you're playing PC or phone. I do think that PC is better by a fair amount, but both the controls work and are perfectly manageable and honestly feel great. So the point for controls, it obviously has to go to Fall Guys. I mean, Among Us controls great and all, whether you're playing on a phone or PC, although the PC is better. Fall Guys just has so much more control options, and the fact that you can change them is a godsend. And there's overall more controls you can perform, like jumping, grabbing, and stuff like that. Makes it the game that this point is going to go to. Round 4. Characters. Most of you probably know by now, both of the main characters in these games, which are all customizable, are beans. Could have chosen any food to base characters off of, but nah, these ones. And I should probably bring up the fact that neither of these characters have any story or personality to them whatsoever, because the games don't have a story. They don't have any single player campaigns or anything, so they don't have any backstory or anything like that, or any personality. So it basically just comes down to the designs and the customization of these characters, which both of these games have. So when it comes to the character designs, I do think that the character designs in Among Us are better, solely because they just look more interesting. Like, Fall Guys literally just look like bean people. Among Us characters do look like bean people, but I like the fact that it looks like they're wearing a spacesuit to suit the vibe of like Among Us and about it being on a ship and all that, well, at least when you're playing on Skeld. I think that the overall design of the Among Us characters is more interesting, but when you take into account the customization, that's a whole different story. Don't get me wrong, it's great that both these games have amazing types of customization and all that, but, I mean, Fall Guys just has so much more. Fall Guys has so much more customization. It just has so much more. I know that Among Us does have some pretty cool costumes and all that, and you can even have a pet if you want to, or your own son. I don't know what kind of sadistic moron would bring their son to a place where you're gonna get murdered, but hey, at least it's an option. But Fall Guys just has so much more. Fall Guys has so much more interesting costumes, and there's just more of them in general. So the Among Us characters have better basic normal designs, but the Fall Guys characters have better customization. So who do I give it to? I actually have to give it to one of each. So I give Among Us 1 point for having the better basic design, and I give the Fall Guys characters 1 point for having better customization. But remember, there's only one round left. Will Fall Guys take that last round, or will the Among Us characters be able to tie with Fall Guys? Let's see in round 5. Round 5. Content. So when it comes to Fall Guys, it really doesn't have much content to it. Sure, you do have the normal online matches, which like I said are the main part of the game, but other than that, this game really doesn't have anything at all. It just has the online matches, and that's pretty much it. There's no single player campaign, there's no local multiplayer thing, there's no training mode thing for you to practice on the rounds and all that. There's nothing here aside from just the normal online matches. So this game is severely lacking in content other than that. If you're not into the online multiplayer stuff, which like I said is the main selling point of the game, there's nothing really much else here for you to sink your teeth into. And it's like I said, the gameplay does get quite dull after a while. So when it comes to the content in Among Us, there is much more than there is in Fall Guys. And what's surprising is that Among Us is a free game and it has more content than Fall Guys, a $20 game, which I find odd. Yes, you can do the normal standard matches online and all that, but you can also do matches in local multiplayer, which I'm surprised that Fall Guys doesn't have the ability to do that. And there's also a training mode for you to just walk around the specific maps that you want to walk around as, and there's other stuff you could do as well. So overall, yeah, Among Us has more content. It may not have the most content out there, but it certainly does have more than Fall Guys. Solely because it has local multiplayer and a training mode, which is something I still believe that Fall Guys should have. Yep, that means Among Us gets the point, and the battle is a draw. I promise I did not make this a draw just for people to say, I don't want my game to lose. No, I did not do it for that reason. I truly think that these games are equal. I think that these two games both excel in greatly different aspects. Like, Among Us doesn't have a very good soundtrack, but to be fair, that is because it's trying to be like sinister and eerie like the game itself. But Fall Guys has more soundtracks in the game, and it's overall better. While the gameplay in Among Us is much less repetitive than in Fall Guys, and is honestly more enjoyable. Both of these games excel each other in different aspects. And that's going to conclude this game battle. Do you guys agree with this outcome? Do you disagree with it? Let me know in the comment section down below. Oh boy, that was a lot to say. If you enjoyed this video, why not leave a like on it and subscribe to my channel for more content like this in the future? Or you can also join my Discord, which I'm going to have a link to that in the pinned comment down below. Thank you guys for watching. See you soon. Bye.